All right, folks, this is shockingly embarrassing. Donald Trump, Speaker Mike Johnson, and House Republican leaders just pulled a desperate, pathetic, last-second stunt to avoid a major bipartisan vote on forcing the release of the Epstein Files in their entirety, and it's on camera. We have them caught on camera. As Mediaite reports, swear her in. Republican frantically adjourns the House of Representatives to avoid swearing in a new member to duck Epstein Files vote. This is just shameless at this point. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, folks, before I play you the video of the Republicans desperately pulling this bullshit stunt to avoid this vote, I need to provide the proper context. So here is the new member in question, a newly elected congressional Democrat.
It is day 2 here in DC. Look at me. I'm surrounded by all of these beautiful structures, these beautiful people, all here to work. And am I sworn in yet? No. Do I know when I'm going to get sworn in? No. Speaker Johnson has left the building. And unfortunately, what that means for us is Southern Arizona does not have a voice here to advocate for you. You also don't have services in district. I need to get sworn in order for that to happen. Every day that I am here without being sworn in, Southern Arizona loses. Reach out to Speaker Johnson. Let him know that I need to get sworn in.
Pretty shameless stuff. And again, that's Adelita Grijalva, who was just won an election. So you hear it straight from her mouth. She is not being sworn in. They are delaying her swearing in. Again, it gets so much worse. But to provide the necessary context, this is her on camera announcing that she would be the crucial 218th vote in the bipartisan discharge petition orchestrated by Thomas Massie, Republican, and Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna to force the release of the Epstein Files in their entirety.
Congresswoman, you have the potential to be a critical vote on both spending legislation and the release of the Epstein Files, something Speaker Johnson has gone to great lengths to block. How do you think this plays into your delay in being sworn in, and what do you think Republicans are so afraid of?
Well, that's the big question, right? The American people want to know what is in these files. And when we see more and more of this hesitation, roadblocking my being sworn in, then you really have to wonder what is in those files that they want to hold so secret. And so I'm hoping that there will be enough pressure and common sense will prevail and I can get sworn in, on Tuesday when we have a pro forma day and I can get to work. That's what I want to do. And I will be the 218 signature on the, pushing a vote for the Epstein Files. And I think that is also, unfortunately, is playing into this.
Clearly it is. 100% it is. So she gave that interview. Well, today is Tuesday, that pro forma session, and the House GOP did everything in their power. They ducked it in the most transparently obvious way, even as there were shouts for her to be sworn in. So they knew what the hell they were doing. Take a look.
Is approved. The chair will lead the House in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to Clause 13 of Rule 1, the House stands adjourned until 3:30 p.m. on Friday, October 3rd at 2025.
And he's smiling when he does it because he hears them saying, swear her in, swear her in, swear her in. He looks them dead in the face. He raises his voice to try to overcome their shouting, and he adjourns. In order to avoid giving the American people the 218th vote they need to force the release of these files. This is shocking. So again, as Mediaite reports, Republicans swiftly adjourned the House session Tuesday as Democrats shouted for a newly elected Democratic member to be sworn in.Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva won a special election on September 23rd, easily trouncing her Republican opponent in the Deep Blue District 69% to 29%. Grijalva will succeed her father, Raul Grijalva, who died on March 13th in representing Arizona's 7th District as soon as she's sworn in. House Republicans are dragging their feet on letting Grijalva officially join their ranks, and it's looking increasingly likely that the government shutdown deadline at midnight could arrive without Grijalva being sworn in, further delaying her officially becoming a member of Congress. Widely speculated as contributing to the reason for the delay in swearing in Grijalva is the vote to release the Epstein Files, as she would be the 218th vote to pass the bill in the House. There's been a lot of demand, including from Donald Trump's MAGA base, to release the files related to the deceased convicted sexual predator, Jeffrey Epstein, and his former girlfriend and accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. And documents obtained by media outlets have only heightened the interest in bringing transparency on the matter. Thomas Massie, one of the Republican sponsors of the bipartisan measure to release the files, confirmed to reporters just after Grijalva's special election victory that she would be the 218th vote to pass the bill. On Tuesday, Representative Morgan Griffith, the Republican from Virginia, was designated to act as Speaker pro tem during the House's pro forma session, but he didn't hold the gavel for long. After leading the Pledge of Allegiance, he adjourned, which is what we saw. As Griffith began speaking, Democrats began calling out to be recognized and for Grijalva to be sworn in, chanting, "Swear her in," and "Shame on you." The Virginia Republican was undeterred and gavelled to end the session. As Andrew Solander, who's an Axios reporter, noted, as Axios reported would likely happen, GOP Representative Morgan Griffiths just adjourned the House over Democrats' shouted demands to be recognized. Some members are chanting, "Swear her in," and "Shame on you." Grijalva has complained about Mike Johnson delaying her swearing in, which is the clip that we saw at the very beginning. According to a report at Notice, Grijalva said on Tuesday that her situation was, quote, frustrating because she can't, quote, hire staff, hasn't yet been given access to an office, and, quote, can't get around without being escorted. Reporters observed Grijalva having to wait to go through security Tuesday morning with members of the press and public, which she said was, quote, a second-class citizen feeling compared to the congressional members who can bypass the security line. Grijalva also pointed out that two Florida Republicans who won special elections earlier this year, Randy Fine and Jimmy Patronis, were sworn in during pro forma sessions. So she was simply asking Republicans to follow their own precedent, and they broke their own precedent to try to screw over not just Democrats, but the American people writ large. So, folks, this is very obvious what's going on here. That 218th signature would be for a discharge petition, which would allow Kana and Massie to bypass Mike Johnson, who's been trying to block the release of the Epstein files on Trump's behalf because Trump is orchestrating this behind the scenes. He's terrified of the full release of the Epstein files, which is something he campaigned on in the first place. He's trying to renege on a major campaign promise, and he's using Mike Johnson to do it. And Mike Johnson is orchestrating this to prevent Grijalva from bypassing him in this discharge petition and potentially humiliating Trump as a result. But the American people want the release of the Epstein files. So they're just totally screwing over the American people and Epstein's own victims, who are also publicly demanding this level of accountability as well. It's shameless, it's cynical, it's ruthless, and it's Republicans being massive hypocrites, not just in terms of the rhetoric and the promises about the Epstein files, but again, also as that article notes, their own precedent. They have sworn in to pad their own majority, 2 Republicans in pro forma sessions. So when people say, well, maybe a pro forma session doesn't allow for people to be sworn in. Bullshit. They've done it twice in this session or twice in this Congress. Instead, they are choosing deliberately to delay this, to try to avoid the vote, to try to buy Trump time to put more pressure on Nancy Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Thomas Massie, the 4 Republicans joining every Democrat to vote for the release of the Epstein files. So who knows what's going to happen here, folks, but this is, again, shameless, it's shocking, it's breaking news, and it's something that should accrue a political consequence. This is yet another reason why the Republican Party, certainly at the elected level, shouldn't be in positions of power. They can't be trusted. They're hypocrites of the highest order. They're conspiracy theorists of the highest order. They betray their own constituents, let alone the American people. And they're screwing over not just the 7th District of Arizona and Arizona writ large, but again, even their own constituents who are demanding the release of the Epstein files, and they're working aggressively to prevent that from happening. So just goes to show how desperate Johnson and Trump are, and they'll stop at nothing to prevent the files from being released. So I'm interested to hear what Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie have to say in response to this. Before I started recording, they had not yet publicly commented, but I'm sure they're going to have a lot to say in the coming days. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.